This morning, on its way to Ukraine, a badly needed resupply of critical military equipment from the U.S., part of a new $800 million aid package announced by President Biden Wednesday.
The American people are answering President Zelensky's call for more help, more weapons for Ukraine.
After condemning Vladimir Putin's war for what he calls its appalling devastation and horror, the president, for the first time, accused Putin of war crimes.
I think he is a war criminal.
To repel the Russian invasion, the U.S. is sending Ukraine an arsenal, 800 Stinger anti-aircraft systems, 9,000 anti-tank weapons, and 100 deadly drones that can strike targets from miles away. It follows President Zelensky's pointed and powerful address to Congress, invoking the worst attacks in American history to capture the plight of his people.
Remember Pearl Harbor. Remember September the 11th. Our country experience the same every day.
Zelensky urging the U.S. to get tougher with Russia, calling for the establishment of a no-fly zone, or alternatively, the transfer of Soviet-era fighter jets for Ukraine to do it itself. A move President Biden opposes, warning it would spark World War III. Republicans calling on the president to give Zelensky what he's asking for.
We need them to win. And to win, they need to kill Russians. And to kill Russians, they need more weapons.
Zelensky concluding his remarks in English with a message to President Biden himself.
I wish you to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace.
Zelensky bringing both parties together and bringing them to their feet.
And the White House pushing back on the argument that it is not doing enough so far, emphasizing that the U.S. has been the single biggest contributor of weapons to Ukraine by far. And as for the president's condemnation of Vladimir Putin as a war criminal, the White House says the president was offering his opinion that a formal investigation internationally into possible war crimes, those are ongoing. But the Kremlin is denouncing the president's words, calling them unacceptable and unforgivable. Craig and Hoda.
Our chief White House correspondent, Peter Alexander for us. Peter, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.